Hello, this is PoppaGoulash. Thanks for joining me. I wanted to give you episode 5 here. Unfortunately, I am no Steven Spielberg, and I programmed my OBS incorrectly, and I recorded an HEVC, which might be for Apple. I don't really know what it's for, but I know it's not for this. So this is just going to be an update on the fundamentals of what happened during episode 5. So the first thing I found out was I had purchased a bunch of billy goats. Yes, that's why we didn't have milk. I still don't have milk for some reason. I'm not going to get excited about that right now, but just to be safe, let's check. Yes, we have all does now. Oh, that's all right. I purchased them 2 months young to where they can't produce milk or offspring yet. Then, starting from the beginning, I harvested this field. Again, I leased more equipment, harvested this field, and sold all the proceeds sold all the product, and the proceeds went towards a couple of updates. One of the updates is I now have liquid fertilizer towers at this greenhouse setting. At the end of episode 4, I showed you that international I purchased. That's to put liquid fertilizer in there. But then also over here, I have the last 2 greenhouses that I'm going to need. And I have another liquid fertilizer tower here. They're only $5,000 a piece. And I also purchased a storage facility for pallets because this barn, as cool as it is, as much as I like it, whoa, I have to get used to these flight controls. All those triggers in there are very difficult to access if you want to use the barn to its fullest potential. And as you know, we park our trucks in here. So now we have a barn for pallets, but during the recording of episode 5, I found that it's kind of a challenge to use because I first have to go to the wrench and I have to choose. Here, we'll do it. I have to choose if I want to take out like crawfish. Let's say I want to take out a skid of that. I have to instruct a building, that's what I want, and it puts it on the ground. So I'm not able to take a vehicle up to the building and load up the stock. So this is probably not going to stay. Don't get too used to it. There again, there are other things. This was just the most economical tractor I could lease at the time from Mr. Spasic. I just used it because what I planted in here is barley because I need to get grains for my chickens and I want to use the straw. And the primary reason for that is if we take a look at the map, on this map, Flat Acres 4X, this field down here, 26, kind of sits on its own. If I click on it, you'll see that it's the roadways. And you're allowed to purchase that for $0. And so that's what I did. And what that gives me the ability to do now is I can take all the grass that grows on the side of the roads here, and I can harvest that because now I own rights to the road. So because of that, I don't need to have grass in this field. So I can use barley for some increased as an additional revenue source. And I can then obtain my grass harvest from what I have left in this field. And from, anywhere there's a road where grass grows, I can harvest it. So that's more grass than what I had previously. It's just I have to go get it. But with the setup of the Rabari, see, there might have been more things messed up because now I can see that my favorite forage wagon is also gone. The one with the rakes built in. And the mow equipment. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on now. Okay, that's gone. So this, I may really mess things up. So I guess the culmination of the series was going to be this episode anyway. So I'll let you in on what we were going to do. This, if we go to this greenhouse, here's the large greenhouse right here. This allows me to grow onions. As many of you already know, onions are a pain in the butt to grow in this game, as well as harvest, as well as anything. The whole concept of onion gives me a headache to begin with, but I can grow them in a greenhouse here. And you can see all I need is water, liquid fertilizer, and compost. Compost is easily enough purchased in game. I believe it's, no, it's one more. Let's go here. Yeah, compost, I can get $250 for 1,000 liters. So that's cheap enough. I could purchase that in game, and then with that, I can get this greenhouse up and going, and I'll get organic waste and I guess chili peppers if I do that, but it's the same recipe for onions. So that's what I was going to do for onions. And then if we go over here, well, I'm in flight mode, so it's hard to move. This greenhouse offers the ability to grow potatoes. All I need for that is seeds, again, obtainable through the in-game store, water, solid fertilizer, which is also a store item, and then empty pallets. I could put up a pallet production facility. I'm really going to step on it here, acting like I know where to buy them, and I don't. Oh, no, I do, right there. So in-game, under the objects listing for the in-game store, if you go to pallets, you can just buy empty pallets. Actually, they're empty pallets for greenhouses. And it's $30 for one piece. That's about real world pricing. So just purchasing those two items, I'd be able to obtain onions and potatoes. So then going from the top, I have for the ingredients for the crawfish gumbo. Obviously, I'm able to produce crawfish through my crawfish farm. And then I have potatoes and I have onions. Obviously, we need onions and everything. Through these female goats now, I'll be able to obtain butter and milk. And I have eggs with the chickens. And then when I go over here, I have all the vegetables that you normally get in a greenhouse. Because I turn them all on. They're all activated. So I'm making them all. So I have garlic, chili pepper, spring onions. I mean, I have no use for strawberries right now, but nothing wrong with eating a strawberry, right? So I have the strawberries handled. And then mushrooms, they're also handled through the mushroom greenhouse, which you're already familiar with. And then when I go over here, coffee's not a part of it, but coffee actually was going to be the, what do they call it, the dark horse. This is going to be a moneymaker because it produces so fast. I haven't been on in a bit, and I have 4,000 liters just in this greenhouse available. And if we look, coffee beans, raw coffee beans, are selling currently for, boom, not a lot, but it's still 4,000 liters, and that I'll have 12,000 liters. So 12,000 times, I don't know, 190 or 200, it's about 24,000, but they fill up real fast. So that was going to be my dark horse. And then up here with the salt mine, I'm able to produce salt, which is obviously needed for everything. Coarse salt sells pretty cheap right now, but I'm making road salt out of it anyways. But there's another dark horse in here. I don't know if they spell it in the French way or the English way. Yeah, flour. Okay, English. So flour of salt, though, you can see that is $72,000 per 1,000 liter. And it does produce them, not very often. I don't have anything in there right now, as like I'm telling you, after the last recording, I haven't played since the last recording. I don't really play this version when I'm recording a series, just because I don't want to mess up the timeline. But ordinarily, I'm going to say I get 25 to 30% of the salt that I obtain is flour of salt. So that would have been an incredible amount of money. And then for those of you who are thinking of getting into salt, it really is kind of an economical way to make big money. Just, I don't like the road salt thing. That takes extra time. You have to spend $350 for the road salt additive. And I don't know why I clicked on that. But that trigger is also very touchy. And it only holds 10,000 liters, which is frustrating because you just want to fill it and forget it, right? And you can't. So it only holds 10,000 liters. I have it full now because I filled it up before I logged off. Of course, that's all corrupted footage. So, and then water is free. Just got to turn it on. And the coarse salt, you can just have that be distributed from your salt mine. So there's really no work involved in this except for adding the road salt additive. But the price difference is where you start to become a little frustrated. If we take a look at coarse salt here, at its peak, coarse salt sells for, let's say, $1,500 because I got a crappy memory. And then road salt sells for, let me see if I can even find it, $19.50. So exactly $500 difference. The problem is, when to make it, you got to add 10 of these, so it's $3,500 because it's 1,000 liters. There's $3,500 in road salt additive you're adding, and the recipe, as you can see, maybe you can. The recipe says 1 road salt additive for 10 road salts. So, yeah, I guess gross revenue is an additional $500, but by the time you get done splitting the hairs, it's not worth it. It's a lot of extra time, and you don't get that nice big influx of cash you do when you just run a normal salt operation. Like normally at the beginning of every day, I'll have 2 to 3 crates of salt, sometimes 4. But when I'm running a road salt operation on the side, then I only have 1 to 2. And it's usually just plain salt, sometimes flour of salt. But all the coarse salt that creates gets distributed over to here. So it does create a little extra work. Not a lot, but there again, I like to make, I know I haven't shown you one yet, but I like to make my farms big and complex. And when I do that, I don't have time to run around with wheelbarrows and rakes and fill up every little itty bitty thing. So let me see what else was there that I went over. Nothing with the chickens. Nothing else was purchased or installed. Nothing over here. That water still does not produce fish. That'll come into play in the next series. This series is now done, and I'm going to be starting another series. It'll all be the same props. This map took me about 6 hours to make. This is the Flat Acres 4X map, I believe is what it's called. It's a standard mod in Mod Hub. You don't have to go to a third party for it. And typically, the area that I'm on right now is all just parking lot. So this whole area where the farm is basically, it's the game doesn't recognize it as a field. You can cut the grass. That whole area where the cursor was, that's where you start. And everything else is flat, with the exception of these 4 fields here. These are all rice fields. With exception to those, Everything else is just a massive flat field, and it just goes on forever. And it's a 4X map, so it's nice and big, but it allows for you to be as creative as you want to be. This is where we're at. This is the area you start. We were going. I wanted to originally incorporate these, but they sell for like $100,000 each, and I wouldn't be able to account for that kind of money. So here's the map. It's a 4X. I have another playthrough going of this where I actually have combined all of these fields into one, and I'm growing carrots. That's just for my own plain pleasure. I won't be recording and posting that. But I'm going to continue this series. This series will carry on from here. There are 2 more series coming out of this. But unfortunately, I can't give you a proper video ending to this series. But it's essentially just the beginning of the bigger story anyways. Nothing on here will change. When you see episode 1 of my next series, it'll start with all the things that I just showed you. I hope. If I don't get rid of that pallet barn first, because that pallet barn really does annoy me quite a bit. And if these are all billy goats again, they're not, but that was frustrating. I mean, how do you mess that up? If you look in the beginning of the 4th episode, you'll see I actually highlight that you can clearly see the manhood, you may say, of a goat. Oh, this corner is also a little bit destroyed. That's because I was experimenting with a composter to try and make my own compost. But I haven't figured out yet how to dump organic stuff in. So I was just going to purchase the compost. So thanks to everybody who followed the series. Look at that. We even have some eggs here. See, at least I didn't get a bunch of roosters. Well, I don't have anything else. Thanks for enduring. Unk says hi and thanks for stopping by. And I promise next series, Unk is going to get a different vehicle because this vehicle truly, without exaggeration, it blows. Of course, I can't get in it. You didn't see this. I'm just going to use my cheat and turn off flight mode. And I'll show you how terrible this thing is. All my volumes have been tolerable up to this point, I assume. Really? Now it's not going to start? Oh, that's because I changed that. I'm going to have to get used to that. So it's loud for one. Annoying. And really impossible to do any fine adjustments. Like the purpose of this truck was I was going to borrow it from Unk from time to time to haul wagons to get stuff. But I can't stand driving it. So where's my Freightliner? Hold on. We may have a mystery on our hands. We got to turn this back on for investigation. This is Power Tools, by the way. It is also a standard mod. Wait, did anybody see my steak truck? I have no idea where that would be or why that... Okay, there was also a big Windows update. It messed up a lot of my computer. I have 3 monitors. All the screensavers were changed. My steak truck is gone. You know the one I'm talking about, the Freightliner. That's the one I used to pick up the crawfish. Okay, so my son is typically in my studio with me. He's on a different computer, but do you remember me doing anything with my steak truck?
Talking to me?
Yeah.
No, say that again?
Do you remember me doing anything with my steak truck?
No, not really.
Oh, that's right. At the end of the recording, I remember now. I turned in the lease, that was on a lease, and I also turned in the lease on the forage wagon that had the rake built in. I don't know if you've seen that one. Just in case you haven't, I'm going to show you. I love this forage wagon. I definitely will be getting it. for every playthrough. This one right here, this is a fabulous, this rate comes down and it gives you, man, I'm going to say 35 meters of pickup area. So you can literally just cut, you can put mowers on the front and the back of your vehicle. I did the, where are they? Well, the Samaz, I did this setup. And so they're on the front and the back of the tractor. And then I can just hook that wagon on the back. And I can do a whole field lickety split versus the old Rabari. If you remember, where is that thing? Here, this is still a very economical way to go. The lease on this is not bad, $18.92. And the only problem is that hay bind is quite narrow. It has a good capacity, 35.5. There's no complaints there. But the other forage wagon that I like, this one holds 50. I think you can actually increase, maybe you can't. Yeah, you can. You can increase the capacity to 1 million if you want to do some unrealistic. But it starts at 50. You don't have to worry about the hay bind because you have your own mowers on the tractor. So I turned the lease in on this and on the Freightliner because those are vehicles I had determined I needed to purchase. You can see we're at $163,000. I was going to be able to purchase them. So that's why they're missing. And then because we're going to continue to do grasses, the silage is a big thing, a moneymaker. It's a huge moneymaker. I'm probably going to end up buying this cedar as well, although we're getting way too far in the future. I won't be purchasing that tractor. It has the 3-point on the front, so it is a viable tractor, but it's two-wheel drive, so why? Why? There's so many alternatives that are a better fit. Beyond that, I can't predict anything else except for nothing should change too much. Unless you can think of something that you think should change. I was going to... Oh, that truck has to go, though. So, when I built this truck for this series, I asked for subwoofers. I don't know where they are. You can see I can store my chainsaw there. And Grandpa's joint is still going there. Not Grandpa, Unc. Unc's joint is still going. The engine sounds cool at idle, but that's it. And spoiler alert, Unc never sits down. He just keeps staring at you in a creepy fashion. So thanks a lot for joining me in this series. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did. I'll see you. I have a new setup. I'm getting off of keyboard and mouse. And I have my Thrustmaster wheel, Thrustmaster stick. So there's a learning curve. So it might be a bit before I have another series started. But in the meantime, I look forward to seeing what you guys have to post. And again, thanks for stopping in the view.